welcome back. On today's video, we're talking about embracing the suck. Stay tuned till the end and we're going to talk about my 6 favorite methods to do it. Now, there's a lot of different ways that people are embracing or facing tough situations. And in fact, we know there's a lot of people facing tough situations today. The economy's rough for a lot of people. There are some people doing well, but there are some people that are struggling very, very hard with life challenges. Anytime we go through life challenges, we learn, we shape ourselves for the future as well as for the current task we're facing. One of the things that I was looking at is a website called Mental Health America, and they talk about a few different options to get through difficult challenges. And these include things like writing down the problem, listing your solutions, assessing your list, accepting reasonably good solutions, realizing that you're not going to have a perfect scenario. Once you pick some solutions, going forward with those, getting started on them, and don't getting discouraged. They also talk about shifting your thinking, asking how realistic your worry is, setting aside worry time each day, and then focusing on the rest of your life, the rest of the day. Focusing on the good aspects of your life, making sure that as you're going through a challenge, that you don't think that your life is your challenge. You don't identify yourself by the challenge, but you become stronger as you go forward. And of course, getting support. Realizing that there's always people in our lives that are willing to help. And it may be people that we don't necessarily want to deal with sometimes. We may have to get back in touch with family members, parents, and people who have not always gotten along with us, or we may not have always gotten along with them, but generally we have people in our lives that are able to help us if we're willing to help that, or if we're willing to accept. So let's get into my top 6 methods. Number 1 for me is you got to identify the issue. And you have to separate the issue from you. So for example, if you're facing a job challenge or a health crisis or something along those lines, that is not your identity, but you do have to identify the problem. Be very clear, be very specific. That is my number 1 thing, because if you don't know what the true problem is, for example, if you have a lot of relationships that have gone bad and you are unwilling to address your own personal issues in those relationships, or if you have lost a number of jobs and you're not willing to recognize your own personal responsibility in that, it'll never get any better. So you have to identify the true problem that you're facing. Number 2, it's okay to admit how you feel. You have to check in with yourself, figure out, hey, yeah, this sucks. It's not fun. We have to get through it. But you can only do that for a minute. It's easy to get stuck in it. It's easy to get stuck on your problem as opposed to finding the solution, which is number 3. Actually, number 3 goes a little bit different. Number 3 for me is identifying the worst case scenario. A lot of times when we're facing sucky situations, we tend to feel like the world's ending, that we're in a situation that we can never dig out of. And a lot of times if we analyze what really is the worst case scenario, what is the worst thing that could happen? We could lose our job, we could get evicted from our apartment, we could lose our car. Once we've identified the worst case scenario, we understand that's the worst it can be. Everything else is upside from there. Yes, it's a challenge. Yes, we have to face it. But once we've identified the worst, what we can also recognize is rarely are things ever the worst case scenario. Usually it's somewhere between the best case and the worst case. And a lot of times we do have something that we can do about it. So number 4 then is identify options. So as we're looking at the worst case scenario, we can also look at, well, if that's the worst case, that means that is if I have absolutely no control over it or if I take absolutely no action. But then what options do I have? And you start writing down or listing those options depending on the severity of the situation. A lot of times I will make a list of, okay, I can do this, and it may be looking for if for example, you're facing losing a job. Can I fix it? Can I do anything with my current job or my current employer? Can I find another job? If I can, who do I go to that I know? Because networking is obviously the best scenario. If it's a health issue, can I find a good doctor, or do I need to get a second opinion on what's happening? Medical issues that my family and myself have faced in the past, a lot of times getting in front of a new doctor has presented a lot of new options that maybe the prior doctor didn't, or a prior doctor wasn't taking someone seriously. If it's a job, is it a current career field that you want to stay in? Do you want to find a new career field? Do you have networking contacts that you're able to get out in front of? If it's a relationship issue, how are you able to exit perhaps a bad relationship and find yourself again? If you're in that situation, don't jump back into another one, and then eventually transition into a more healthy space where you can find a better relationship. So identifying options and acceptable solutions is critical. As part of that, we also need to figure out, what do you want the solution to look like? When you get into that new scenario, what would you like the situation to look like after you're done? And is that something that is reasonable? So for example, if you are in a job situation, we're going to go back to that option. If you're in a job where it looks like you'd probably lose your job, or you're not making the income that you want, a reasonably possible solution would not be going from a janitor position or a mid-management position to a CEO position, unless of course you start your own company. But it could be a lateral or a one-step up type move. It could be improving your education situation so that you can get into that new step, or it could be accepting new challenges within your company that make you more valuable. It could be some of those options. So again, you've got to identify options and solutions that are a reasonable outcome, something that is attainable. Once you have identified those, get started on the solution. Don't hide from it. Don't put it off. Don't procrastinate, because that is generally going to only cause more stress. You're taking steps on bettering your situation. Now you have to act. Will you always be successful? Of course not. Will some of your solutions not pan out? That's very likely. But you will find out very quickly by acting on those what will work, what will not, and if you need to come up with additional solutions, you are making positive headway. And once you resolve some of these issues, it also helps you improve your mental strength, your mental tenacity to be able to go out and solve the next problem that you'll face in your life. The next piece is, once you've solved your problem, we're not done yet. You need to implement a long-term solution. Look back on the scenario, find out what happened. Why were you in that situation? What happened and why did we get there? And what can we do to never be in that situation again? If it's a relationship issue, it may be looking through and making sure that you are taking the steps to maintain a healthy relationship. It could be, if you're in a job position, number one, getting a cushion, a safety fund, some sort of an emergency fund in place, and then becoming valuable in that position. Or if you're self-employed, taking steps to make sure that you will always have a client base to be able to continue to have that income that you need. These are all things that we can do, and it starts by embracing the suck. Now, let's walk through those steps again. Number one, identify the issue, the true issue. What's really causing you the pain, the issue, the mental problems, the challenge? What are you really facing? Number two, it's okay to admit that it sucks. Number three, identify the worst case scenario. To me, this is important so that you're not worrying constantly about what could happen. You've identified it, what could happen, and then you start working on options. What are my options? What will fix the problem? How do I get out of this? Number five, get started. Take action. Get moving on it right away. And once you've solved the problem, number six, look back on the scenario and make sure it will never happen again. I hope this has been helpful. If it is, please give us a like down below. If you'd like to see more videos like this, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you know someone who may benefit from this, do share. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next one.